Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a super simple page in my traveler's notebook using the brand new Shenanigans stamp set from Kellie Stamps. It's release day today, so the stamp set is available in store right now. I will leave the link for you down below in the description box, and don't forget to use the code Diane10 to take 10% off your order. I am starting this page with a full page photo. I've run out of photo paper, so I just printed my photo onto just regular old printer paper, and I kind of like the look of it. I did alter the colors a little bit so it was black and white because it was a very early morning photo and it didn't look particularly pretty, so it's black and white, and printing it on the regular printer paper gives it this really pretty matte look instead of my usual Glossy 2 Canon photo paper, and so it's something a little bit different, but I really like the look of it. Now, I started this project with the intention of using up some pattern paper from this very old Maggie Holmes Shine paper pad. The papers in it aren't my favorite anymore. I've used all the good ones. This yellow one was as close as I've got, and you can see here I cut it wrong twice. Just measure your page, make sure you know, cutting the right size paper. I did it twice, so I'll have to put those bits of paper into my scrap bin. They're not usable for this spread. I decided to go a completely different route, and I grabbed my gather pad, and I'm using my very favorite paper in there, which is this kind of marble pattern. I'll be honest, this is the second gather pad that I bought, and I bought it purely so I could have some extra copies of this pattern because I adore it. So although I started off this page trying to use up some less than, amazing supplies, I've ended up using one that I totally love, and I'm glad I did in the end. So miscutting that paper was probably a blessing in disguise. Now, in that original Shine pad, I had a whole bunch of scraps. You can see them on the left here, and one of those pieces was this frame paper, which I really loved. So I decided I would use up this scrap and cut out a few of the frames, mostly the whole ones that are there, and there are only a few. I realized as I started cutting, I sort of thought there were more whole ones in there, and so I will end up going back into the paper pad and actually cutting some whole ones out of a full sheet. It's fine. Like I said, I'm trying to use these things up. It also means that I can trim out this bigger frame down the bottom here, so I've got a little bit more space to do my journaling, because at this point I hadn't really considered where I was going to put that, and when I pulled out this whole sheet and I saw this much larger frame, I thought that worked perfectly. I can run that through my typewriter and type out my journaling on there. My idea was to kind of create a, what are they called, like a gallery wall on this side of my page here. Those frames are all a little bit bigger than I kind of thought they were, and I can't fit very many pleasingly on that right hand side. So at this point I thought, well, can I just do 3? I've got one that I'm going to use on the left hand side on top of my photo, where I'll put a little title for this page. I really want the larger frame to be landscape so that I can write my journaling on there. And you see, as I play around a little bit more, I can fit 4. I kind of want to fill up some of those bigger gaps though, so I will end up going back into my pattern papers and trimming off some of those they're kind of like half ones so that I can hang some off the page. I already cut out one half one, you can see on the right hand side, and I did like how that looked. I hadn't actually intended to do that in the first place, so since I've already got one hanging off, I decided I would add a couple more. And to make those frames a little bit smaller, I cut out the outside line of the frame so that it was a little bit smaller and could fit in that gap, because you can see here I've placed some stamps from the stamp set on top of the frames that sort of best fit the size for the stamps. And the last stamp I want to try and place on here is one that says selfie, so it's just a very small stamp. I don't need a whole lot of room, so I am going to use this one here, even though it's got it's got its own phrase in there. I'm not actually going to end up using that. So like I said, I ran that bigger frame through my typewriter. I just use a vintage typewriter, but I do have one of the typecast ribbons in there, and so I used the pink side of that just to add a little bit more color into here, because I've got the black and white photo, the black and white frames, so everything is very black and white on here. I'm even going to stamp my stamps in black just so that they kind of they look like they're part of those frames, those patterned paper frames. And so I wanted to add a little bit more color, and the pink worked perfectly with that marbled patterned paper. So I did type that in pink, and then I'm just going to start gluing everything down. I have laid it out pretty roughly how I want it, so I'm doing these things one at a time so as not to knock anything around. The last one I have to do is that very tiny stamp, and the ones that I'm hanging off the edge of the page there, I'm just gluing them down and then trimming those off with my scissors. The last one I have to glue down, and of course I've run out of tape runner. It must happen every time I sit down to do a video for you guys. I'm going to stick that directly onto my photo, but I am going to hang that off the page as well, just to tie those two things together to make that kind of like gallery wall look like it's sort of spreading across both pages of my layout. The last thing I want to add is a little title. I told you it was going to be a simple page. All I'm going to add in here is a title. I'm using these pink Fresh Studio alphas. I've had them for a super long time, and you can see I've barely made a dent into them. There's 2 sheets of these two in each packet, so I really need to start making a bit more effort to use them up. And for my title, I'm going to choose all the sort of warm toned ones. So I typed my journaling in pink, and I'm going to create my title with sort of reds and pinks as well. I had pulled these alphas out originally because I thought they sort of suited that shine pad really well. Turns out they suit the other one too, the gather pad as well. So I didn't have to change alphas. I am just being a little bit careful about what I'm going to make my title be and how I'm going to fit that into the frame. So I thought these little alphas would fit pretty much anything into here. As I started spelling out my words, I realized I have to be a tiny bit more careful. They're going to fit onto 3 lines. It only just fits in there. So I'm shuffling things around a little bit to get that to fit. But otherwise, once I've got that title in, this page is all done. Don't forget to check out the release today. There's some really great stamp sets over there, and don't forget that discount code I've got for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.